wow, we hear about a leper today. And I think especially during this particular time, this past year, maybe we have a little more insight into the suffering that a man or woman experienced in leprosy. Because their greatest pain was not the sickness itself, though that was horrible, but it was the isolation. It was the being disconnected from the community. And maybe some of you experienced that. Maybe some of you had experienced the need for quarantine. Maybe some of you were afflicted with the coronavirus. And you felt that feeling of when people, those closest to you, would come near you, you had to kind of shout out, unclean. You'd have to lock yourself away. And maybe you could even see the difficulty with even those that are closest to you, wanting to give you a hug, but then kind of recoiling because of that fear. And just the pain that can happen. And maybe some of our children who are watching too, maybe that feeling of getting stuck at home, not being able to be with your friends. And yeah, it's okay to maybe play a game with them or see them through the video screen, but just that difficulty of not being able to come up and hold your friend's hands, be able to play outside in the playground, that's a tough thing. And maybe there's all those different kind of fears that are in there when we're stuck, alone, by ourselves. That's a little tiny glimmer into what this leper experienced. When someone was a leper, they had to leave all of their family, all of their friends, and they had to live in a colony together. They had to live in a special place way, way far off with others who were sick. And nobody could see them. And they would get in trouble if they went out to try to find people that they cared about. And they had to have a big giant bell and say, unclean, unclean. And people would run from them. Imagine, they've never experienced a hug for 20, 30 years or so. And they want to be able to have a hug from their mom and dad, and their mom and dad say, no, you got to go away. Imagine his hurt. He was suffering not just with a sickness, but with that feeling of not being loved, of being pushed away. If you've ever had that experience of being pushed away, sometimes that's harder than the physical sickness. But notice what he does. He runs up to Jesus. And I'm sure all the apostles that are around him are afraid. They're probably running away. Or they're probably saying, you can't come, you can't come. But this leper has his eyes locked on Jesus. And there's something about Jesus' face that's saying, it's okay to come to me. Everyone else that he looked at, that leper would see the sense of no. Sometimes it might be a very rude no. Sometimes it might be a sorry. But Jesus, his eyes speak the truth of his heart, saying, you can come to me, and I'm not afraid of you. And so he comes, and he says these words, which are words that we need to have within our own heart. If you wish, you can make me clean. If you wish, you can make me clean. And that clean is not just, you can put shampoo on me or something like that. But you can heal me in the area where I feel dirty, where I feel stuck, where I feel isolated, where I feel not loved. And what the leper is saying is, you have the power to heal me there. But notice how he doesn't say, do this for me. But he says, Lord, I trust that you know how to heal me. And so I'm not going to order you to do anything. But I'm going to come to you saying, I know what's in your heart. I know that you are the Father of mercy. You want to heal your children. And so I just put that out there saying, if you wish, you have the power, and I put it in your hands. And this moves Jesus. It says moved with pity. And that word, this word pity, it's that really cool Hebrew word, rachamim, which means that sense of like when a mother sees her child hurting, it's that feeling inside that just sort of lunges out. That's what Jesus is experiencing. That depth of just lunging out with mercy. That's what the father in the prodigal son experiences when he sees his son who was isolated. He isolated himself, and he was away in the midst of his sin, and he comes back, and the father just opens his heart and runs to him and gives him a big giant hug. That's what Jesus is experiencing here. And then it says he stretched out his hand. He touched the leper. He wasn't afraid to touch him. And he says, I do will it. Be made clean. And that's what the Lord wants to speak to our heart today. He wants to say, I want to heal you. And he will, in the way that will bring us the deepest joy and the deepest permanent happiness. And that's something that we always have to remember is there are sort of three things when we say, Lord, please heal me. He might say immediately, yes. He might say, wait. He might also say, no. But it's no for something even deeper. Because remember, we talked about this yesterday, the deepest healing that he can do within our heart is not to just bring us back from the dead, but to give us eternal life, in which there is no more suffering forever. There's no more sickness forever. There's no more death forever. And so we have to trust in this Lord who always has mercy on us, who stretches his hand out, who says, come to me. I will give you rest. I will do it. I will heal you. And let's trust that he will heal us in the way that gives the deepest possibility of a forever love, a forever joy, and a forever happiness. And even if it's not happening the way that we think it should happen, to know that God is greater. And he has something even greater and richer in store for us. The other thing here that's really important is when he heals this leper, the leper's now able to come back to his community. He doesn't have to do things alone anymore. And sometimes we try to do things on our own power. And that's why in this first reading, it talks about, it says, encourage yourselves daily while it is still today, so that none of you may grow hardened by the deceit of sin. This is something really important in our Christian life, is we're called to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, but not a private relationship with Jesus Christ. And sometimes maybe within our own culture, we can kind of get stuck into that sense of, well, it's me and Jesus. I got to sort of figure this out myself. I got to, muscle my way through to become a saint. And we realize, and we forget the fact that we need brothers and sisters to help us on that journey. They're not there just in an optional sort of way. They're there to help us because we were made to be in community. And so we need to encourage one another daily, strengthen one another. And that encouragement is helping the other and ourselves not to grow hardened by the deceit of sin. Because when we're trying to do it on our own, we don't have extra eyes to watch out for us. We're only able to see right here, so we can't see behind us. We need a brother or sister to be able to be behind us and be able to say, well, there's a trap here. There's a deceit of sin. And how many times do we, maybe in trying to do something so right, we plow on ahead and we don't listen and we get stuck and hardened. We maybe are trying to win a battle, but we ultimately lose the war. So a good thing to think about is, do you have someone that you can reach out to? A brother or sister who knows who you are, who knows you deeply and loves you in the midst of that? Do you have someone that you can reach out to and ask for prayer? To reach out to be able to bounce something off and say, I'm trying to figure out what is the Lord wanting of me in this time? It's important to have, and if you don't have that person right now, then pray and ask the Lord, because the Lord wants to give you a brother or sister who can keep you accountable, but also who can encourage you. That's why we have these small groups a lot of times. That's why we have these accountability partners that are there. They're there not just to sort of just do a thing, check off a box, but to really have someone that we can grow in our relationship with the Lord by being in community, being in relationship. And so pray. And especially our school kids that are watching now, think about your friends. Is there a friend that you can see helps you grow in holiness? And are there friends that maybe lead you away from holiness? It's important to choose our friends. We're called to love everyone, but we have to be very, very careful in choosing our friends wisely, because we're sort of like spaghetti in a pot. If you put in spicy things, the spaghetti's going to become spicy. If you put in salty things, the spaghetti's going to become salty. So whatever you put yourself in, whatever your circle of friends are, that's who you're going to become. And so think about, do I have a friend, or do I have someone maybe in my class, or maybe an older brother or sister, or maybe someone on the sports team that wants to live for Jesus? And they might not necessarily even be the popular person, because maybe they're going against the grain, maybe they're swimming against the stream. Maybe sometimes people make fun of them because they're trying to do the right thing. That's the kind of person that you need to hang out with, because it's that person who will help you become someone who is a truthful person, a good person, and ultimately a deep down beautiful person. So pray for that person. Look for them. Ask the Lord and say, Lord, give me a friend who will walk with me and someone I can trust to help me grow in holiness. And just keep praying and praying until the Lord reveals that person to you.